Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the comic book roundup. We've actually got a fairly light haul, thankfully. So let's kick things off with Deadpool #2. Where we left off, Deadpool had been invited to audition for an elite group of assassins. He was given, if I remember correctly, 24 or 48 hours to assassinate Doc Ock. During that, however, he was taken prisoner by a woman calling herself the Harrower, who wanted to basically grow symbiotes out of Deadpool. And in fact, she kind of put a chunk of the Carnage symbiote inside Deadpool to incubate it. Deadpool got free and went after Doc Ock, however. And he's taken quite the beating. And suddenly grown an extra pair of symbiote arms. But him and the symbiote kind of come to an accord. Takes on Ock. But the symbiote is a bit ravenous. So it's a little hard to, a little hard for him to keep control of it. And at one point, a symbiote arm actually rips its way out of his mouth, out through his mouth. But the fight continues until Lady Deathstrike shows up. Turns out that the kill Doc Ock gig wasn't, a solo gig. And Deadpool forgot. In fact, it was both Deadpool and Deathstrike were auditioning for the group. But Harrower and Ock decide to work together. Deathstrike and Deadpool kinda agree to do the same, but yeah. Deadpool makes his escape and heads to the apartment of his contact within the Assassin Guild, Valentine Young, and promptly passes out from blood loss at her doorstep. The issue ends with a pair of notes from one to Valentine from the Horned Emperor, leader of the Atelier, explaining that the deadline has passed and that both Wade and Yuriko have failed their auditions. And so they're barred from all Atelier affiliated safe houses, and Valentine has to cease all contact with them. And while apparently Valentine is very clearly taking care of Deadpool, she explains to the Emperor that she has neither seen nor communicated with either of the two. Should they attempt to access her safe house, they will be turned away immediately. And that is where the issue ends. Interesting. Moving on to our next book, we've got Legion of X #8. Where we left off, both Deadpool and Angel had undergone some interesting physical changes. These physical changes were affecting Angel in a pretty big manner. And Black Knight, Jax Chopra, was on the scene at X-Corp when a team from the Legion arrived. Also note, Nightcrawler went to talk with Mr. Sinister about the changes. See, maybe get an opinion from a geneticist, even though a geneticist he doesn't entirely trust, and against the arguments of Dr. Nemesis. also a geneticist, among other types of scientists. But yeah, Angel's going full blown monster. Jax kind of powers up the blade by getting angry. But Angel escapes. There's a threat and utility assessment of Jax by Beast, clearly done before his recent incarceration. And something has happened at Nightcrawler's residence. And for some reason, Cypher is there outside the residence. Further investigation reveals that Warlock has kind of untethered himself from Cypher for the moment, likely due to learning that, likely so he can process the death of his father, and the fact that quite likely the Phalanx are eyeing Krakoa from a multitude of angles. Back with Jax, Nemesis, Pixie, and Nightcrawler. She explains that lately something weird's been happening. If she gets near someone, she apparently seemingly activates an X gene in them. Or explaining it started happening after her run-in with the X-Men during Death of Doctor Strange. So as she puts it, a bloke from the Dark Elves in the Ural Mountains. The moment he shook Jack's hand, he started shooting ice beams out of his elbow. Kidnapping in Marrakesh, robot bandits, Big grateful hug, then invisible above the waist. Last time it happened, man spread on the tube, started screaming in the Elder Tongue and summoning unthings through his eyes. Nemesis tries to push his cerebrally grown psychedelics on her, but yeah. However, as she further explains, running in, she came to. Apparently, she's taken mutant tests that have been inconclusive, and so she went to talk to Warren Worthington. Since Warren and Dane Dane, her father, also the Black Knight, have history, and good history, not bad history. But Pixie posits it seems to be mythomancy, rare form of sorcery. You take something real and you rewrite it. You use people's beliefs and prejudices to bend the rules, to embellish. Men become demigods, natural events become the work of spirits and angels. And a grumpy heroine who gives people random superpowers becomes the basis of a mutagenic spell. Pixie later goes on to add that everyone secretly suspects mutants are just monsters, don't they? And so someone's used Jax to make this come true. Elsewhere, Blindfold visits Xavier in his dreams, basically to say, hey, I know you don't think much of David, but here's the thing, he does, there's so much more to him than you're willing to admit. And it goes on to add things such as how Xavier didn't even know of Legion's existence for most of Legion's life. But Blindfold makes a good point that, a great telepath given to scrying for mutants the world over had no idea, no suspicion of his own inconvenient uh, legacy. Seems a little sus. But after their talk ends and Xavier wakes up, he turns on a contingency. Turns on one of his contingency plans. Daedalus. What is Daedalus? Don't know yet. In Germany, Nightcrawler, Pixie, Nemesis, and Jax are trying to find the source of the spell that is affecting Jax. And they come upon a familiar face from Kurt's past. Now, to be fair, this is one of those points where I don't entirely know who the character is. Not his mother, but apparently a mother figure of Nightcrawler, of Kurt's, who presents with curved horns from her skull. Clearly, someone that Kurt would, I don't want to say latch onto, but see as a mother figure, especially in his younger days, before he was aware of his actual lineage. Basically, before knowing who and what he truly was. That is where the issue ends. There's also a write-up in here about the concept of the spirit of variance, as Banshee showed up at Nightcrawler's place and explained that that's what he is. He is the spirit of variance. Basically, it was a spirit of vengeance who kind of had an introspective moment and said, vengeance doesn't seem to really do any... Vengeance seems to hurt a lot of people. The people dishing it out, and the people who receive it. And so he became a spirit for change, and that is what has, the spirit of variance has bonded itself to Banshee. Hence his new, oftentimes flamey skulled look. Honestly, I kind of want to see Banshee hang out with Johnny Blaze for a bit. Just, couple of spirits hanging out, Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 15. So where we left off in Dark Web Dawn, Maddie and Ben began their assault on the waking world. Yes, but not from dream. But their assault on Earth from Limbo. Ben being basically pointed towards Peter and his allies, while Maddie indirectly caused chaos everywhere in New York but the treehouse. So, we get things like a stroller coming to life with a child in it, and the stroller wanting to taste. Kiss the baby, not taste, kiss. Yes. But Venom saves the child from the stroller. Venom is in fact is under the thrall of Madeline Pryor. And he has reverted to his basically the way he was about 30 years or so ago, real time. When he first started appearing. So, and apparently this takes place after events from Dark Web X-Men, which I probably should have done first. But also in Dark Web Dawn, Chasm knocked the hell out of Norman Osborn. So Peter tries to top things out with Ben, but Venom shows up, interrupting things, and the issue is largely just a fight between Venom and Peter. With at one point, Peter was saying maybe he does rely on the spiders. That's a little too much. But Ben utilizes the Tome of Balakane to deal with Miss Marvel, who shows up to because Oscorp is where a friend of hers works. Totally not where she works, and this friend might know Peter Parker. But, yeah. Ben's next stop is the office of J. Jonah Jameson. And in an effort to stop, or to at least stop Venom from attacking him, Peter grabs a manga and a lighter from a newsstand, which probably tries to eat him, and opts to set a bunch of Christmas trees, who are, at this point, alive and sentient. And by scaring them, the trees scream loud enough to disrupt the symbiote, allowing Peter to give him a good old knuckle sandwich. And the trees hop away. Peter and Maddie have a bit of a chat. Just before Chasm, Ben shows back up. And that is where the issue ends. And like I said, I probably should have done this and the next book in reverse order. Oops. So our next book, which should have been the previous book, Dark Web X-Men, #1. New York is going to hell. Well, not hell. Limbo. We open with a quote from a seemingly timely quote from J. Jonah Jameson. The holidays are magic, and that's bad news this year. Good tagline, I gotta say. So we get a rundown of Magic's whole saga with Limbo, being kidnapped by Belasco, raised in Limbo, taking it over, escaping, and ceding control to Madeline Pryor. But, and yeah, it seems that Jean just senses disturbances all over the city. Ileana insists that Madeline has changed. Change or no, however, once again she's animating inanimate objects to attack the people of New York. X-Men are summoned. Forge has a new toy he's trying out, which seems to work fairly well, dispatching demons and turning them into trees. Reminds me of that College Humor Captain Planet bit. Tree, 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 tree. But this also includes, among Forge's victims are a demonically possessed motorcycle that had just eaten its rider, and a bunch of possessed mannequins that were going to come to life, and not in a sexy and comedic way. Though, and Sync points out, everything's fine at the treehouse. Maybe they've been told that the treehouse is off limits. So maybe that can be used to their advantage. Jean, Scott, Ileana, and Ileana head to Limbo to deal with the source. opting to grab Alex along the way, while Firestar and Iceman deal with things topside. Fire's freezing and or melting now sentient construction equipment, and then dealing with the Rockefeller Center tree, which a demon pooped on, which made the tree demonic, and yeah. Firestar, Iceman, and their amazing friend Spider-Man show up, or work together to take down the tree. Yeah, it's very much a they stop the tree from eating the everyone at Rockefeller Center, but yeah, they still kind of destroyed the tree. In Limbo, well, yeah, Scott, Jean, Alex, and Ileana walked right into Madeline's trap. Um, but Spider-Man and his amazing friends opt to continue taking on the forces of Limbo however they can, while Ileana, Jean, Scott, and Alex are all being held prisoner. Maddie shows up and basically just, explains that she's going to get everything she wants, and Alex and Scott get to watch. Well, there's also a write-up of the X-Men's White Elephant gift exchange. Apparently, Cyclops is the gift that Cyclops got. The one he bought for it is the one that he ended up with. A Banner Brothers 4K set of Blu-ray discs autographed by Tom Hanks. Iceman got a teddy bear that was obviously the handiwork of magic. A surprise when it was unwrapped was the discovery that it had the old mummified heart of a rhyming demon formerly of Limbo. Bobby's not quite sure what to do, where to keep said gift. Magic got a lovely bit of asteroid plucked from high orbit around the planet. Jean noticed while saving the world while the Eternals attacked. Firestar ended up with Forge's gift, a living clock that displayed the full date that was made with nothing more than flowers from Krakoa. Truly one of a kind item. Forge got a knockoff hoodie sold by a street vendor outside the treehouse with Iceman's handsome face on it, so you can only get one guess as to who gifted it. Havoc didn't love the look of his teammates' choices and finagled his way to get his own gift of a year-round copies of the world gift delivery. Sync got a really interesting art piece made of carbon and diamonds, made by Firestar. Jean Grey got Sync's gift, a limited edition single cask whiskey from Japan, which we opened and shared on New Year's. And that is where the issue ends. Like I said, this definitely should have been the first. I should have done this before Amazing Spider-Man, as when Iceman and when Firestar, Iceman, and Spider-Man go their separate ways, it's because Norman has called for help. So, oops. Moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Wildcats number 2. Where we left off, the Wildcats were ended up in a cave underneath a building in Star City, and it looked like the Court of Owls were there too. But there's something else. There's something going after the Court of Owls in the caverns, and Grifter, Fairchild, and Zealot are trying to basically not be between the two groups. They make their way through. Grifter gets shot. Wakes up 2 days later at Halo. Talking about the swearing that he's actually the Grifter from the version of Cole from DC vs. Vampires, and that in fact the Wildcats they actually left that Earth and came to Earth Zero. But Maxine shows up to talk to Grifter. Apparently, I haven't heard he got his dick blown off. He didn't, but she wants to make sure. At Halo, there's basically a board meeting. With Marlowe explaining that the best news is that almost all departments are performing admirably. Almost the AI and synthetics division under Doctors Ivo and Morrow is doing great. The product of their partnership between Doctors Shelley and Shelley and Veronica Kale, hypothalamic methadone, is testing off the charts. Dr. Time's division continues to work on things that Marlowe does not understand, but he's told it's going to be fine. Environmental engineering, the board would argue it's the most important division, but it's also not doing well. It's under it's being headed up by Victor Freeze's wife, estranged wife. Jeremy Stone talks a little bit of grief, gives her a bit of grief for being a scientist trophy wife, and gets ice blast in the face. Jeremy Stone, for those unaware, is the civilian name of founding Wildcats member from the Image days, Maul. Maul is basically Wildcats Hulk. He gets it. He can grow to large. He's a human Titan Thorpe. At least in Wildstorm, he was a human Titan Thorpe hybrid who could grow to great size and strength. Problem is that when the bigger he gets, the dumber he gets. In his normal human form, he's actually a brilliant scientist. Cole shows up and also gets a little bit of grief from Dr. Stone, but Void summons him elsewhere, namely back to bed. That night, Grifter and Voodoo break into the building that is now that the Wildcats had shot up the previous night or 2 nights previously, and basically trying to figure out what it was that the Court of Owls were doing down there. Across town, at a big to-do, an assassination attempt is made on Marlowe. Zealot takes out the assassin and is caught on video doing so. Marlowe is not happy with the fact that Cole took Voodoo to investigate the building, especially when Marlowe said leave it alone. The video of Zealot is all over the news, including a video of her and Grifter working together. The next morning, Marlowe goes public with Halo's superhero initiative, the Seven Soldiers of Victory. So none of the characters are introduced. I assume that's going to be the beginning of next month's issue, but the ones I can definitely pick out are Mr. Majestic, Maul, Mother One, and Pike. Interesting note: Pike was Wildcats antagonists throughout the Adventure Days. Like I said, there are a few others who I can't pick out name wise, but fingers crossed that next month we'll get introductions to all of them. And that is where the issue ends. So far I'm liking the new Wildcats book, but I'm biased. You can slap Wildcats could just be, I don't know, I'd at least give a chance to a book that was called Wildcats. That had had absolutely none of the prior characters. In the hope that maybe they'd show up, but so yeah, I'm a bit biased, but so far I'm enjoying the ride. I'm especially happy to know that we're getting a new Stormwatch book next year. So anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.